Well, hey, welcome back to the Bible Guys. We have a guest speaker because Jeff Forrester, who's normally here, is not here. So we have Dave Wilson with us, joining us this week.
Hey, where is Jeff, by the way? I'm filling in for him. On some epic vacation.
Yeah, well, he's doing the Timothy Initiative down in Clearwater, Florida. So he's serving Jesus in Clearwater. Ooh.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to be in Clearwater for. That's a great initiative.
Oh, whatever. You went serious on me?
Well, it is. I mean, Clearwater's Clearwater. I mean, I live in Orlando in the winter, so Florida's Florida.
Oh yeah, I forgot. So I can go.
I'm a Florida guy. It's where my job is now.
Snowbirds.
My job is in a studio in Orlando, Florida. So instead of we go down there every month for a week and record 30 shows, and then in the winter we said, you know what? Why don't we just live here for a while?
Yeah.
So we rented a place, and I don't think I'll ever do another Michigan winter. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was epic.
I got news for you. Whenever we make fun of you snowbirds, you really know we're just all jealous.
You are jealous. And you're welcome anytime, Chris.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, come on down.
And your podcast is Family Life Today.
Family Life Today. It's marriage and family.
That's all right. So he's Dave, I'm Chris, and today we're the Bible Guys. So, Dave, we do a personal segment, and today we are asked to share a story about an autograph. Whether you want to get somebody's autograph or have gotten somebody's autograph. So I have an autograph story. Do you have one?
Of getting one? I am not an autograph guy. I do not understand why people want autographs, a little name and put it in paper. But I understand. I mean, with the Detroit Lions all those years, and everybody wanted Barry's autograph. Everybody, I got a good one. I just thought of one.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it. You go.
Yeah, I mean, again, you get off, when we travel with the Lions, we get off our charter bus, which is, by the way, police escort to the airport, onto the plane.
I didn't know that.
It's pretty cool. The buses go out to the tarmac, so you don't go through. It's
and for those
the only way to travel.
For those of you who don't know, Dave was the chaplain of the Lions for 33 years.
Yeah, losingest chaplain in the history of the NFL. Not a joke. Anyway, so we get off our bus, get on the plane, land. The buses are on the tarmac waiting for us. Get on the bus, police escort to the hotel. And then we get to the hotel. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people there. Even for the Lions, there's a lot of people there. But Barry Sanders couldn't get off the bus with us because he was so famous. He went like back door or something. I don't know what they took him because there were just so many people literally lined up in the lobby. They know where teams are going to be. And I'll never forget, we're playing the Patriots years ago. And my older brother, Rob, and his wife, Kathy is a school teacher, like second grade. And she says, hey, we're going to meet you at the hotel and go out to dinner. I'm like, great. She goes, I have to meet Barry Sanders and get his autograph. I go, not going to happen, Kathy. She goes, no, my kids. That's all they talk about is Barry Sanders. You got to introduce me to him. If I could just get his autograph. I go, Kathy, not going to happen. This is a business trip. We go on the road to win a football game. You can't do that. And especially me. I don't ask for autographs. I'm a giver with these guys, and I take her. So I'm giving her this whole thing. And she's like, whatever. I'm just introduce him to me. So we get to the hotel.
Yeah.
And, I get off, and Rob and Kathy come up, and she goes, so you got to introduce me. And she's all excited. I go, Kathy, I told you, not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean this. It's not going to happen. Not going to introduce you to Barry. And so she goes, no. I go, I don't even know where he is. He doesn't go our way. He goes back door. And so she goes, okay. So we're going to our room, and she's really, really disappointed.
Yeah.
And we take this back stairway, and there's Barry.
No way.
That's where he's going. So he's standing literally in this back hallway. There's nobody there. And I go, Barry, hey, I can't believe you're back here. I got to introduce you to my sister-in-law, Kathy. This is Barry. And she goes, oh, real funny. Real funny. You just picked this guy. He's just some player, and you're going to tell me it's Barry?
What?
And I go, Kathy, this is Barry. And he just looks at it. He goes, okay, yeah, I'm Barry. Okay, nice to meet you, Kathy. He walks away. And she goes, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that to me. I go, Kathy.
Oh,
you just met Barry Sanders and made fun of him. That was really him. She was so there. It's one of my greatest stories ever. It was awesome.
That is hilarious.
So what's yours?
Mine's like 10 seconds. I went to the Southern Park Mall in the 80s, like 1985. And I was like a teenager in high school. And the hottest model on the time at the time was Christy Brinkley. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was, just so pretty, and that was right when Vacation.
Uptown Girl.
Yeah, that's right.
Billy Joel's wife.
Billy
at the
Joel's
time.
wife. Yeah, and she had been at Christmas Vacation, or no, the first Vacation, right? So she was just super popular, Sports Illustrated, everything else, and she was at the Southern Park Mall in Youngstown, Ohio, and people were crowding around to give her autographs. And they kept on saying, you want to go get her autograph? And even back when I was a high school student, I wasn't into autographs. So guess what I did?
I have no idea.
I gave her my autograph. I did.
I bet she talks about it to this day.
She does not. But I'm sure it's not the first person who's ever done that.
You literally signed your name and handed it to her.
I signed it on a napkin. We were at a food place. She was over there, and I signed on a napkin, and I walked up, and I finally waited in line, and I just said, hey, Christy, I just thought I'd give you my autograph. And she laughed and took it.
Wow.
I thought that was a huge victory.
Wow, that's fun.
And I just wanted to do it just so I had bragging rights.
Well, there you go.
Isn't that hilarious?
That story will go down in infamy. There you go.
Nobody's going to care.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're in our mini series with Dave Wilson, and we just decided to call it Best and Worst. And the idea is one of the best things, one of the worst, different topics, different passages. Well, today we're going to be talking about what is one of the most epic God stories that you've ever seen played out, and the scripture tied to it, versus one of the most opportunities, if we have time, one of the most opportunities that you've missed maybe in your life, okay?
All right.
So I'll try to make this quick because this is a longer story, but basically it's based out of James chapter 5, and it's the power of prayer. And so verse number 13, here's how it reads. Are any of you suffering hardships? You should pray. Are any of you happy? You should sing praises. Are any of you sick? You should call for the elders of the church to come and pray over you, anointing you with oil in the name of the Lord. Such a prayer offered in faith will heal the sick, and the Lord will make you well. And if you have committed any sins, you'll be forgiven. Confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. And this is sort of the key phrase. The earnest prayer of a righteous person has great power and produces wonderful results. Elijah was a human as we are, yet he prayed earnestly that no rain would fall, and none fell for 3.5 years. Then when he prayed again, the sky sent down rain, and the earth began to yield its crops. So James is, James, who of course is the brother of Christ who writes this book, the half-brother of Christ. He's talking about Elijah from the Old Testament, this epic time where Elijah just prayed and God responded. And in the same way, he's tying it to the New Testament, saying you and I have the power to pray, and it's effective, and it actually matters. It does things, right? So here's my quick story, and I'll make this super quick. I was in Africa. I was inside this big, huge, ultra-terrain vehicle with this crazy driver, and there was nobody in the bush. We were in the upper north. Anyway, we were in the bush. It was like trails and bushes everywhere. And he runs over this guy's cow. And literally, like, they were crossing the path, the trailway. And there's like 8 guys, and they all had spears, and they were, dressed in these, robes. And they were crossing the way, and they had this cow. And our guy just beeps the horn and just keeps on plowing through, like he did all week, by the way. And we literally run over this cow, and it's right in front of my face. I see the big eyes of this cow. Moo! And it goes boom, 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 boom. And
hit it.
He ran the whole thing over. Ran over this guy's cow. It just beeping the horn, figuring the cow would be fast enough to get out of the way, and hits it, runs it over. So anyway,
Wow.
And there's like 5 white guys, and I say white on purpose, right? Because we're the only white guys in the area. We're in this vehicle. The driver gets out. The problem is he only speaks Pokot. And the people are only speaking Swahili, which has some overlap. And so the guy comes over and says, lock the door. These are not good men. They will kill you. And we're like, okay. So we lock the door. He goes over and starts arguing, and he's going toe-to-toe with these guys. They literally have their spears out there waving them, and they're arguing. Well, we didn't know this, but basically they were arguing over the price of the cow. This guy was bringing this cow to the market to sell. We just killed this cow. It's still living. It's on the side of the road breathing, but dying.
They're not going to get any money for it.
And they're not going to get any money. And so this guy is just saying, buy our cow, and they want too much for this, skinny old cow. That's what they're arguing over. We didn't even know. But here's the only thing we thought. We thought, If they spear this guy, he has the keys, which means we're not safe because they'll grab the keys, open up the door, and we're dead, right?
Wow.
Because if they're going to kill him, they're going to kill him. And these guys are like pretty native looking. So we said, let's pray. Let's just pray. Let's pray that God would do a miracle. So we prayed, and Craig Wicklund was there.
Was he?
Yeah, he was there with us. Yeah, Jason Schomer
Really?
was there. These guys were on this trip, which are mutual friends. So we're praying. We're like, God, we pray that you would just take care of the situation. And all of a sudden, off in the distance, as this motorcycle, we hadn't seen a motorcycle for 7 days, literally. Nobody's driving in the bush. And he comes up with this smoky, smoke behind him, takes off his helmet, knocks on the window, and says, can I help you? We explain the situation. And it turns out that God had sent us. This guy was a veterinarian who spoke English, Swahili, and Pokot.
No way.
That is the honest to God truth.
What?
So he goes over, examines the cow, says the cow's going to die. And then come to find out, these guys wanted $90 for the cow. And our driver was saying, no, this cow's only worth 40. And then once Don Anderson found out, who's the leader of our trip.
Here's $90.
Here's $90. But he gets out, and or maybe it was like $70. It was something like crazy, like low, right? Don takes like $200 or whatever it was, $150, whatever it was, gets out, walks over to the crowd, hands the guy way more money than he wanted. And then this guy gets emotional. And like he literally, this native guy gets emotional. And he says, hey, we'll load up the cow onto your roof. And Don says, we don't want the cow. He says, you could have the cow. Take it back for food. Well, come to find out, the reason why this guy was selling the cow is because he wanted medicine for his dying mom. So now here's what God did. God was able to allow these guys to keep the cow for food. He had the medicine for his mom, enough money for medicine for his mom. And we believe that God sent us an angel. And if it wasn't an angel, it was the biggest coincidence in the world. Because how could you pray for something to happen so that all that good could be accomplished? And of course, we just said God loves you. We tried to tell them, that God loved them. And
Wow.
And we just thought it was epic.
Wow.
And so I just thought to myself, okay, don't ever doubt that prayer matters. Don't ever doubt that God can show up, because the odds of that happening, dude, go to Vegas, baby, because that is like 1 trillion to 1.
Wow.
Probably worse. It's probably like quadrillion to 1.
Yeah, a guy that shows up
Who speaks 3 languages is a veterinarian.
as a vet.
Yeah.
That's a 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, my story's not that epic. Not that I hear that one.
That's all right. Go ahead.
And I might have shared this at Heritage in a sermon a couple months ago, but I don't remember. But it took place last year. And I mean, honestly, 20 stories, 50 stories come to my mind. So I could tell any one of these. It's just God has done things over years in our life. But
which, by the way, is a good word for our listeners, because when you follow Jesus and you put it all out there, God shows up, and that's what it means to experience an abundant life.
Yeah.
God does things through us and in us and around us. Go ahead.
And often you have to ask.
That's
like
right.
you did.
That's
Right.
right.
And in this one, we didn't even ask. What happened is my son Cody, my youngest son, was a college receiver and played for the Lions for a couple of years as a little receiver, and then now he's in ministry, but he still trains receivers. So high school kids, parents will call and say, so he'll take them out and work them out, sometimes 10 at a time. But anyway, he always needs a quarterback to throw to these guys, and he calls Dad. It's awesome. He gives me a call. And because I'm an old quarterback from college. So I'll throw these routes to these kids while he's training. He does a really good job. It's amazing how they improve. But so he calls me one day on a Saturday, hey, could you go throw? I got this kid. So we were supposed to go to this one field. There's a soccer game going on. We go to this other field, another thing going on. We end up at Oakland University on some empty field. The reason I'm telling you this is all these details matter. So Ann, my wife, is going to bring Cody's son, Bryce, over to the field just to run around. He's like 2 years old at the time. So as she's coming, she's like, where are you? Where do I park? And I'm like, oh, we're at Oakland U. Do not park in the parking lot where this field is, or where we're throwing. And this is all by a text while I'm throwing balls. Park in these student housing. It's right across the street. It'll be a lot closer. Again, details matter, right? Mm-hmm. So we go home after throwing to this kid, and Bryce was running around the whole time. And I get home, and it's Saturday, so I'm turning on college football. I'm sitting in the front room, And she comes in. She goes, hey, I found this wallet by my car. I go, what do you mean? She goes, literally, as I'm opening my car door, I step on a wallet. It's right there. And I pick it up. She goes, and I just looked through it. It's a college kid at Oakland U. I'm going to call him. I'm like, okay. So I hear her in the kitchen go, hey, this is Ann Wilson. I found your wallet. And I can literally hear the kid. Oh my gosh, I lost it. I can hear him. He's yelling. I'm so excited. Thank you. And she goes, here's our address. You can come get it. And she hangs up. And Chris, I'm embarrassed to admit this. I walk up and I go, you gave some stranger our address?
Right.
And she's like, yeah, why? I go, you don't give our,
right.
Why don't we meet him at a gas station or something?
This isn't the 1950s anymore.
Exactly. That's what I said. And she goes, God's in this. And I go, God's in this. She goes, I'm making him cookies. I go, what? She goes, I'm telling you, God's in it. I'm making him chocolate chip cookies. Whatever. I go in the front room and I'm watching football, and the doorbell rings, and the doorbell's right by our front room, and I hear Ann open the door, and this kid goes, Ann Wilson? Is Dave here? And she's like, yeah, why? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And Ann's like, come on in. So I get up and walk out there, and he goes, I can't believe I'm at my pastor's house. I go, what? He goes, I've been at your church my entire life. In fact, you married my parents.
Wow.
Before I was born, I don't remember, but then he tells me his name and his parents. I'm like, yeah, I remember you like 20 some years ago. Anyway, comes in the kitchen and, Ann's giving him the cookies. And the whole time Ann's looking at me like, told you God's in this thing, right? Well, then it happens. He's standing in the kitchen and he gets real serious. Like this stark look comes over his face. So much, though, that we're all standing there in silence. So I finally go, and his name's Kendall. I go, Kendall, what's wrong? And he just looks at us like he doesn't know if he should share this or not. And then he goes, well, I got to be honest. I've walked away from God. I go, what do you mean? I don't believe in him anymore. He goes, I grew up in your church. I went to every retreat, high school. Every Sunday I was there with my parents. And now I'm a senior. I'm about to graduate from Oakland U, and I just don't believe. I don't believe in God. I walked away. And then he goes, and last week I prayed, and I said, okay, God, if you're real, I need a sign. And he starts tearing up, and he goes, this is the sign. He goes, I'm in my pastor's house. Of all the people in the world that find my wallet,
it's incalculable.
You guys find it. And here I am. He goes, I need to come back to God. And so, it's this beautiful moment. Then we get by the front door, and both of us laid our hands on his shoulders, say, hey, Kendall, can we pray for you? And we pray for him. And I start crying, and not sobbing, but just tearing up, because it was in that moment, Chris, it hit me what Kendall doesn't know about that circumstance. It hit me right there. I was like, look at what God did to put a lost wallet and my wife in the same parking lot. We should have been in a different field. She should have parked even at that field in a different place, but I'm like, no, park over there. It's like the cow and the vet.
Yeah. God
brought Ann together with this lost wallet for a prodigal.
Yeah.
And the thing that hit me standing there in our foyer in our house was the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Because it hit me like, I bet you his mom and dad have been praying for him to come home. And he hadn't. And here he is in this moment. And he literally looked at us. He said, okay, I'm going to follow God. God's got a plan. And we're giving him advice like, man, God wants to use you, Kendall. You've got gifts and blah, blah, blah. And, Luke 15, I won't read you the whole story.
Yeah, but maybe when he came to himself.
Yeah. When I think about parents, and in our family life today broadcast, we talk to a lot of parents of prodigals, and they're so distraught, and they lose hope. Yeah. My son's never coming home. My daughter's never coming home. And man, you go back to Luke 15, and I tell you should read it on your own, because I don't have time to read the whole story. But this son, goes to his dad and says, give me the money. I want out of here. In fact, and basically in that culture, he's saying, I'd rather you be dead. But since you're not dead, can I have my inheritance now? And his dad gives it to him, and he goes and wastes his life on wild living. And then in verse, I can't even see it. 17 in Luke 15, it says, and when he came to his senses, he said, it's interesting. It's almost like Kendall came to his senses in our kitchen. How many of my father's hired men have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men. So he got up and he went to his father. This is the best part. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him, and he ran to his son and threw his arms around him and kissed him. I mean, I was just thinking that's sort of what God did for Kendall. He ran to him. And, we, again, as parents, we lose hope. God sees your son, sees your daughter, and he's running to him right now. And there's going to be a moment they come to their senses, and there's going to be a homecoming. And again, standing there in that foyer just reminded me God cares that much about all of us.
Right.
But especially when you lose hope and you think God's not seeing you and knowing what's going on, he sees you. And he loves you, and he will meet you, and he'll do whatever it takes to even put a lost wallet in the foot of where my wife stood, or a veterinarian where you need an answer to prayer. Just get on your knees and say, God, I need help. He sees you. He will meet you. I don't know how the story's going to end, but I can say you can trust him.
Whew. Well, that's incredible, dude. That's great. And it's a homecoming for all of us, not just our kids. It's all of us.
Oh, yeah.
So in like fashion, we have like 2 minutes left or so to talk about opportunities missed. So I'll give you mine in 90 seconds. I moved next to a kid, and I didn't want him to think that I was a creepy pastor guy. So I never shared the gospel with him. I never talked to him about God, and he was waiting for me to. And like over 7 years, he was wishing that I would bring up the conversation. And then when he was like 19 years old, he was helping me rake the leaves. He looked at me and he goes, I thought you liked me. I thought you cared for me. Why haven't you ever told me about God? And it was the most convicting moment ever. And so I prayed and led him to Christ, Brandon Brown, in my yard.
Whiz.
And I actually thought to myself, I can't believe that I have passed up every opportunity living next to this guy, because I was so nervous about, I was wanting to be, normal, and I wanted him to see pastors and ministers as normal people, and I almost missed it. Actually, I did miss it. It was him. God used him for me.
Yeah, he's like, hey, will you lead me to Christ?
Right.
I think I need him. Yeah.
What must I do to be saved?
I think I could do that, yeah. Well, what do I have? 1 minute? Mine is a long story, and I'll say it in 60 seconds. Just recently, Anne had a melanoma that needed to be removed. And her brother connected her to Ohio State University Cancer Institute for a consult. So that's 3 or 4 hour drive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, should I go with you? And Anne's always this way. Oh, you don't need to go. It's just a consult. We're not going to do anything. He's going to say, yeah, we need to remove it, and we'll set it up for next week or whatever. And so I'm like, oh, okay. I got a softball game anyway, and I got a couple broadcasts I got to do. So I don't go. And guess what happens? They decide on the spot, hey, let's just do it right here, right now. And so I'm up here in Michigan. She gets a scar. They slice her from her shoulder all the way down to her elbow on the back of her arm and remove this melanoma. And she's driving home with this scar seeping. She actually has to pull over because she's getting sleepy at one point and take a little nap. And I missed the whole thing.
Wow.
And, after the surgery, she went out to lunch with her brother and sister-in-law, and they both go, where's Dave? Are you kidding me? How did your husband miss this moment? She's like, well, he thought, and all I know, and this is a lesson for us husbands and any spouse, dude, don't miss it.
Be there.
Like one of my friend's wives said, Dave, when the word cancer's involved, you're there. And I'm like, yeah, it's just a consult. It's a consult about cancer. You don't miss moments like that with your spouse or your kids. It's like, stop everything.
Yeah.
A softball game, seriously. You don't need to play. You don't need to make that phone call. You need to be in the car. And, because, again, this wasn't supposed to happen, but it did, and I missed it. So I'm like, I'm never missing another one of those again.
Wow. Well, that's powerful too. Well, hey, listen, that's all the time we have. And we'll see you next time, which is tomorrow on the Bible Guys.